Hi everyone, this is the first video in our loose leash walking series. The door is the most important part of your walk because if your dog goes out the door and at the beginning of the walk is super excited and pulling you, it's much harder to get them back to being calm than if you started the walk at where they were calm and already listening and paying attention to you. Because then they'll have a reference point to where to go back to if you're telling them to be calm. They'll know what you're already expecting of them. We're going to try this with Bingo now because Sophia was being too well behaved and we wouldn't be able to show you how to help a dog that's actually pulling. So the first thing you're going to want is this part between you and the dog to be loose. So you want to have a nice slack in it at all times, unless you're actually correcting them. I'm just using a simple slip collar, but these techniques will be the same regardless of whatever type of collar or harness you use. Alright, so to keep the leash loose and to keep your dog back beside you, when they're in front, you'll just give a little correction. And you'll pull and then you'll loosen. And if they go straight back up or if they don't get all the way back, you'll just repeat that. You can also talk to your dog, call them back to you. And then once they're beside you, you'll keep it loose. Your dog will probably keep going to the door every time you bring them back and loosen it. Because once you make it loose, they're going to want to do what they want and go forward. So you'll just keep bringing them back. Make it tight and then loose once they're beside you. If you didn't get them back all the way, just repeat that. And then if they go forward again, you'll just bring them back again. And they go forward again, you'll bring them back again. If it's like 50 to 100 times, you'll bring them back 50 to 100 times. And then once they're beside you, waiting, you can do what I just did. Touch the door handle, take a step forward yourself. And if they stay with you, good. If they come forward, you'll just bring them back. Because what you want is this to be loose at all times. If it's not loose, do not go forward. And keep playing with the door and doing whatever you can to make them go forward because all these noises and all this action gets them used to being here and waiting while all this is going on. Once they're able to wait beside you, then you can open it all the way and do the next door. Now, this is usually the hardest step. Once the door gets open, a lot of dogs just want to bolt out. So if your dog does run out, that's totally fine. Just bring them back in. Once they're waiting beside you with a loose leash, you can take a step out. And if they get past you, you just bring them back. Every step you take, they can't go past you, and the leash has to stay loose. Good boy. Come on, buddy. So you're going to want to make sure you practice this every day. You can set a timer so that you don't get frustrated bringing your dog back at time after time. If you set it for like 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, then you'll just start when you start and end when the timer goes off. And as you practice it every day, your dog will be able to do it faster and faster, and it won't be so frustrating. The other thing is you want to be consistent. So if you let your dog go forward and you open the door with it tight, sometimes, just because you're tired of bringing them back so many times, or you don't notice, that will just create a positive reward for them when this was tight and they were at a place you didn't want. So that was teaching them that doing that was rewarding to them. And so if it's sometimes rewarding to them and sometimes not, they will oftentimes try it way more often than if you're always correcting that behavior and always bringing them back. They can't go forward unless the leash is loose. The other thing is you can use treats while you're training this behavior. Some people's dogs won't take treats when they're outside or something exciting is going on. In that case, you can just use the reward of going out the door. Or if you just don't like the idea of using treats when you're just taking a walk, then feel free to not, because also going out the door is a huge reward for the dog. So if you did want to use treats though, if they're waiting beside you with a loose leash, you can feed. Good boy, Bingo. Good boy. And if they're going in front and they have a tight leash, you don't feed. You bring them back. Once they're waiting, feed. One thing you don't want to do if you're using treats is if they're in front of you and you bring them back, is bring them back and feed immediately. If you had to correct and bring them back beside you, you want to make sure you wait for a little while. You want to make sure that they're waiting with you and they don't go immediately forward. Because you don't want them to think, go forward, they'll pull me back and give me a treat, I can go forward again, and that whole process will be repeated. They'll start to pick up on the patterns really quickly. So you want to make sure you've had at least 5 seconds of good behavior before rewarding. Good boy. Good. No. You can also jackpot them whenever something distracting happens, like if you open the door and they didn't go forward. Good boy. And jackpot means just giving multiple rewards. Good boy. And remember to have fun training your dog and spending time with your dog. Click here to watch our next video, step 2 on training your dog to walk on a loose leash.